So when this phone first came out, it was getting a lot of flack on the internet, but I think you should take those reviews with a little grain of salt. Just like you should take some movie reviews or album reviews with a grain of salt, because if it's a specific genre or a specific actor in that movie, you're most likely going to like that movie even if it does get low ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. So the S25 was getting a lot of hate, which I definitely understand why, but I still thoroughly enjoyed this phone for some personal reasons, and I'll get into those later on in this video. But first, let's start off with some of the downsides and my biggest gripes about this phone, and one of those is the missing silicone alloyed batteries. The Galaxy S Ultra series and the Note series is known for their massive specs that they have, and I feel like this is the first year that the Galaxy Ultra phone is deviating away from the spec stuffer stigma, which is garnishing some backlash. But it gets a lot of the small and intangible things right, helping to keep this phone to remain on top. So this phone still has a 5000 mAh battery, when other flagships in 2025 launched with a 6000 mAh battery with the silicone alloy technology, which allowed for more dense batteries, so you can get a bigger battery in a smaller body, like the OnePlus 13 for example, which is a really good phone. Another downside is the charging speeds. So other OEMs have been putting extremely fast charging on their phones for a couple of years now, and Samsung is still at 45 watts compared to the 60 or 80 watts to some competitors. And that is my biggest gripe about this phone, because this phone is $1,300 for the base price. And when paying that much and seeing other cheaper phones obliterate this in terms of capacity and speeds, it's kind of hard to ignore. With the help of the Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset, this 5000 mAh battery still lasts me about a day and a half, which is pretty good. And this is the longest battery life that I ever had on a smartphone, so I can't be too mad at it. Another downside that was keeping the community in an uproar is that the Bluetooth functionality in the S-Pen is gone. And here's one of those examples of taking your own personal values over others come in hand. Now, I'm not saying people are wrong to be upset about it, but personally, I have never used the S-Pen, so I can't be too mad that it doesn't have Bluetooth. Honestly, in my opinion, I think that they should take the S-Pen out or make another Ultra variant without the S-Pen and fill in the extra space with battery. The S25 Ultra remains one of the top contenders when it comes to cameras, and the full camera specs are listed right here. They've used the same main camera sensor for the past 3 years, which is kind of funny, so all the upgrades are coming through software. I have to admit that I'm not really a camera geek, I'm more of a software UI and charging speed test geek, so I don't really know too much about the cameras. I go outside and touch grass about once a year, but I had to go outside for this so I can get some test shots for you guys to see. So here are some samples against the Pixel 9 Pro, so you guys can see the difference and come to the conclusion for yourself. Now let's talk about the build quality. To me, this phone is absolutely beautiful. I think this is one of the best designed Galaxy phones from the past couple of years. I see a lot of people saying that this is plain and boring, but I love the simplicity and I love this minimal all black, matte black design from the S25 Ultra. A huge win for me. So we have a glass on glass sandwich with the glass on the back being frosted. And this is huge because it helps with fingerprints. And the aluminum sides are not glossy, those are also frosted. And this also helps with fingerprints. Thanks to this phone and a couple other nothing phones with matte texture sides, I've come to hate glossy edges. They show fingerprints, it gets oily, and it gets a little bit more icky. So I think that the look and feel and the materials of the S25 Ultra is actually perfect. So here's one thing that's huge for me and has led me to overlook the downsides and the price of this phone, and that is Qi 2 charging. So if you have watched some of my videos on my channel, then you'll see that I am a huge MagSafe Qi 2 battery pack fanatic. And the fact that the S25 series has Qi 2 is incredible to me. So this is quote unquote Qi 2 ready, meaning that the magnets are not directly in the back of the phone, but you have to pair it with a magnetic case for it to be Qi 2 certified. And Spigen is the only company that I've seen that have Qi 2 certified cases, and I use this case right here. I've done a ton of tests to see if the Qi 2 certified case actually matters when it comes to cases. And yes, the Qi 2 certified case does perform better than other non-certified magnetic cases when it comes to charging results. And this is the first mainstream Android phone where I can use all of my Qi 2 battery packs, which I have way too many of. And also the Qi 2 car chargers and 3-in-1. Again, these are one of those personal values that I have that supersedes the stigma of not having the silicone alloy or fast charging batteries. I've come to overlook that because it has Qi 2. So as you see here, I have a couple of magnetic charging packs, and one of my favorite is this iNew 10K Slim pack. I did do a comparison video with this charger versus the Anker 10K Slim, and if you want to see that video, click the link right here or click the link down below. And iNew also came out with an ultra slim Qi 2 5K pack, and this is one of the slimmest 5K Qi 2 packs that I've seen so far. And you're still getting a kickstand, which you're not getting with other chargers of this size. And if you don't have a magnetic case, then let me introduce you to the brand new iNew Pocket Rocket P50. This is the world's smallest 10,000 milliamp battery pack, and this thing is absolutely tiny. It's basically the same size of my wireless earbuds case, and it also comes in many cool colors. And even though it's so small, it still comes with a whopping 45 watt charging speeds, and that's perfect for the Galaxy S25 because this phone tops off at 45 watt charging. And there's even a 45 watt cord connected to the charger as a lanyard. With these, you'll never have to worry about battery life, and if you're interested in any of these chargers, the links will be down below. So the phone comes with a 3nm Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset for Galaxy, Adreno 830 GPU, and 12GB of RAM. This is the best of the best when it comes to smartphone chip specs. Samsung definitely didn't hold out in this category. It holds up while playing some of the most intensive games on Android with no problem, though the phone does get a little bit hot. I know it's popular to say on YouTube that specs don't matter, but I'm not part of that crowd, because when it comes to the longevity of a phone, the phone with the best specs will last longer, and that's pretty important to me. And some UIs on top of Android, especially One UI, is not too optimized, and having the best specs does even that out quite a bit. Samsung is basically the king when it comes to screens. The S25 Ultra comes with a 6.9-inch dynamic LTPO OLED display with a QHD resolution and a 120Hz refresh rate with a peak brightness of 2600 nits. But the standout feature here is the anti-reflective coating that reduces the glare and makes this screen top out any other screen on the market. Samsung have introduced the Now bar, which is somewhat of a knockoff of the live notifications and dynamic island on the iPhone, but I'm not mad at that at all because the functionality of the dynamic island is incredible, especially for the live score updates for the sports teams that you follow. So the Now bar doesn't even come close to the amount of depth that the live notifications on iOS have, but that's okay because they brought down the most important feature in my opinion, and that's the live score updates. And this is one of those features that once I've used it, I've realized that I definitely don't want to live without it ever again. So good job, Samsung. It's funny, so the Galaxy S25 Ultra has a simple, minimal hardware design, which I personally love, but the software is totally opposite. So One UI deviates a long way from stock Android or the Pixel experience. And in my opinion, it's actually pretty ugly, and it's been ugly ever since TouchWiz. It has gotten a little bit better over the years, but it still lacks that character. And even though Samsung is the top OEM for Android, the Android updates for their phones still come late. But the reason why I overlook these personally is because of the customization on One UI and Good Lock. With Good Lock, you can customize pretty much anything on your Samsung phone, giving you way more power than any other Android UI. Back in the day, I used to frequently root my Android phone and install custom ROMs, giving me all the tweaks that I will ever desire. And with Samsung Good Lock, they've given us that same exact ecosystem. And some of these tweaks bring some functionalities that I've gotten accustomed to and have genuinely changed the way I've used my phone on a day-to-day basis, like the incredible use of the one-handed plus Good Lock module. Even though I prefer stock Android and even call myself a self-proclaimed Nothing OS ambassador, I still thoroughly enjoy One UI because the customizations on this OS is unmatched. So my advice would be to figure out personally what's important to you when it comes to smartphone features and make your purchase based off those topics. There is a lot of downsides when it comes to this phone, and that's mainly because it still costs $1,300. But for me, the addition to Qi 2 charging, allowing me to use all of my MagSafe products, and also the functionality and power given to us from the customizations from Good Lock has led me to daily driving the Galaxy S25 Ultra for the majority of 2025.